Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Bruins Vibes.
Bruins win the Stanley Cup.
Krejci going into the corner. But, there goes a pane of glass on a gigantic. Are you kidding me?
Madison Orr.
The sickest Boston Bruins podcast.
Sends it in, and it's Pastrnak scores! Series winner for David Pastrnak and the Bruins.
It's gonna be sick.
Hey, here we are. Bruins Vibes Podcast, episode 2, as the Boston Bruins defeat the Washington Capitals in Game 1 of the 25-26 season. I am your host, your guy, Brendan Sennott, and I'm joined by my good buddy, hockey scrap extraordinaire, Boston lifer himself, my main man, Jimmy Murphy. What up, Murph? Dog.
Oh, there we go, buddy. I was getting worried there because you had your screen perfect before we came on. And then as you were just doing that, it was starting to get all fuzzy like Poltergeist was hitting you or something. For all you youngins out there, just Google, go to IMDb, look it up. Poltergeist. Great movie.
It is the Halloween season, so I like to keep it in, little horror movie theme there. I like it. All right, excellent.
What did the little girl used to say? They're back.
Wasn't that Drew Barrymore? Was that little Drew Barrymore?
No, I don't know. Now I got to go to IMDb, and we're not even a movie show, but you got to do it.
Yeah, well, we're a couple pop culture guys here, bro.
Exactly. So. You're not always going to be just hockey.
Yeah.
So
we're diverse. We're well-rounded individuals, Jimmy.
Yes, we may not be more up to date on the modern movies as much, but that was Heather O'Rourke. Exactly. Heather O'Rourke was the girl, Brendan.
Oh, okay, Heather. Okay, yeah.
I don't remember what she did after that.
Well,
in terms of their back, the mid Bruins are back. Can we agree on that? Like, if this is how the season's going to go, buckle up.
Kiss Gavin McKenna goodbye.
Bye, Gavin McKenna. Not happening here, because they're going to just be good enough to make it, or just good enough to just miss the playoffs. And I think every night, Brendan, would you agree, after Jeremy Swayman just made 34 saves and David Pastrnak had a goal and 2 assists, that I think after every win, we're likely going to be talking about one of them. There'll be rare nights when we're not, if they've won. And that's their team. That's
absolutely. It. Yep. And we talked on our preview show that the first line of Morgan Geekie, Elias Lindholm, and David Pastrnak were going to have to get a minimum 100 goals, and they're on pace for 240.
Yeah. So 3-1 win, though, for the Bruins over the Capitals. Hey, gutsy win. I'll let you get into it, Brendan. You tell me, you throw it to me, and we'll go. But we do have our guest is waiting, so we'll just do a quick reaction. We'll bring in our guest, Joe Haggerty, one of the longest tenured Bruins reporters around and a good friend of mine.
There he is.
What's up, Murph?
Haggerty.
How's it going, guys?
Hags, this is Brendan.
Flashback to a website that you guys were both on that every Boston hockey fan read when you guys ran the show.
We were good teammates.
That's right.
Yep. We had some good adventures on the road that will not be on this podcast, but maybe in my book someday.
Yeah, and we have a Murphy and a Haggerty from Boston. If we had a Heffernan and an O'Donnell, someone might call the authorities.
Yeah, it would be an Irish law firm, though. It would get you out of jail.
That's what I was going to say. It sounds like an Irish law firm.
Yeah,
that's right.
Good stuff. I was just saying, Brendan. I mean, chances are most Bruins wins this season, Hags, you'd agree that either David Pastrnak or Jeremy Swayman are likely going to be in the conversation.
Yeah, I think so. And but I think, tonight David Pastrnak obviously played well. And Swayman played well too. I thought a lot of the shots were from the outside, though. I didn't think Swayman was severely tested. The really only shot that came from the inside area, the slot area, was Tom Wilson's goal. Otherwise, I thought the Bruins defense kept them to the outside, and Swayman could see everything. So I thought defensively they played really well. And I thought the big story here was the special teams, which were dreadful for the Bruins last year. They went 5 for 5 on the penalty kill. They killed every single power play that the Capitals had. Swayman was obviously a big part of that too. And they scored a huge power play goal that ended up being the game winner. I've seen it in practice. Steve Spott is an outstanding power play coach.
Oh yeah.
They brought him in to design a new power play, to come up with some innovative stuff, to find ways to use Pastrnak not only as a decoy and a weapon, but as a guy that is not going to just stand there at the point and fire one-timers. And I think that's what you're seeing now is the zone entries, the setup, the movement within the zone when they get set up on the power play. All that stuff is working really well. I mean, I watched them practice the power play the other day at practice. And as a hockey coach that coaches my son and that has been coaching for a long time now, watching Steve Spott on the ice, going through everything with the power play units and working with them, you saw a master coach that was completely in his element, knew exactly what he wanted, was giving very specific instructions to the Bruins guys in the power play and showing them exactly how they were going to have success. And it translates in the first game where they got a bunch of good chances on the power play possessions that they had, and then they end up scoring a huge goal there. So I think that is a big part of this story, is that the Bruins, to have success this year, yes, Swayman's going to have to be good. Yes, they're going to get goals from their top line for sure. But the special teams have to be outstanding for them, I think, too. And both were excellent tonight and big-time improvements over last year. And the other thing I would mention is Elias Lindholm. Awesome tonight. Last year, he had a bad back, got off to an extremely slow start because of the back injury that he had to start the year. And kind of it dogged him all year where people were wondering what was wrong with him and thought it was a bust of a signing. He looked like a number one center tonight. He scores the game-winning goal on the power play, makes a nice double move, a nice patient move with the puck after getting the feed from David Pastrnak. He won 12 of 19 faceoffs, including that last D-zone faceoff that led to the empty net goal, which was a huge draw. We all remember last year under Jim Montgomery how big a problem they had when the goalies were pulled for either side last year. They were a mess in those kind of situations.
It was a gong show, absolutely.
Yep. Really bad. And now the St. Louis Blues are horrible in the goalie pull situations with Jim Montgomery there. So something's going on with Montgomery and the goalie being pulled. But either way, Lindholm makes a huge play on that faceoff. Pastrnak wins the puck and then gets it to Geekie and game over. And Lindholm on the first goal was the guy screening in front of the net when Pastrnak threw the puck at the net and ended up being a huge factor in that goal being scored as well. So, as much as we want to talk about Pastrnak and how good he was in this game, I thought Elias Lindholm was even better and was a massive factor in everything that happened. And I think based on how disappointing it was last year, that is a massive turnaround and something to be noted. And you got to give a nod to him that he was really, really good in this game.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I think, another guy, and I know he finished at a -1, Brendan, but you and I throughout last year were saying if he hadn't been injured for so long, they'd probably make the playoffs. And that's the other Lindholm, Hags. I thought Hampus, first real game in so long. He really came out there like a force. I mean, and 3 block shots. I was thank God that goal didn't go in. I was
going to say, aside from almost putting the puck in his own net.
Yeah, I was like, oh no, he's going to be the whipping boy again, because really fans were getting after him before he got hurt last year and the year before. But I thought he was great tonight, and I think he's going to help them tremendously on the blue line. So.
Yep.
He's far and away their best defenseman. It's not even close, in my opinion.
Yep, and their health is a huge factor in the Bruins being a playoff team this year. They have to stay healthy. And on a day when he was given the other A too. Let's big day for him. Where and it was eye opening to me actually last year during breakup day. How many of the core veteran Bruins guys talked about Lindholm when they also mentioned Pastrnak and McAvoy as leaders on that team. Very specifically, a lot of those guys in that room mentioned Lindholm's name with the other two, that everybody thought one of them was going to be captain. And that told me how much respect that he has in that room and how much guys respect him as a veteran leader in that dressing room, and how much he was missed last year when he was hurt. So, getting your 2 workhorse top pair type defensemen back is huge for the Bruins, and you saw it tonight. He wasn't amazing, but he was solid like he always is, and that's exactly what you need night in and night out to win in the league.
Yep.
So you guys have both covered this team for years. You know, obviously, like I said, Captain Obvious, the first line was great. Lindholm was good. Hags, take us kind of behind the curtain. You're at practice. Who stood out
Yep.
that maybe the layman wouldn't really notice tonight? Tell us who kind of caught your eye.
Yeah, I liked actually Victor Arvidsson a lot. I didn't notice him much in training camp and in the preseason and the games that he played, but I thought he was very noticeable, trying to make something happen on that second line. You know, obviously they didn't get on the score sheet, but I liked his game. I'm still wondering what Casey Middlestat is going to bring to the table. I saw a lot of lost battles tonight, and a lot of like not being strong enough on the puck and not being able to follow through on a lot of the plays he was trying to make. I thought Zacha had some pretty good chances. I'm a big Mikey Isamont guy. I like him a lot. I think he's going to be a really good player for them. Marco Sturm, I thought, played good tonight, challenged Tom Wilson after he threw a couple of big hits on Mason Lowry in the middle of the game. Wilson obviously declined to drop the glove.
By the way, Wilson's learned, eh? I mean, that's a new Tom Wilson. 2 years ago, he's not declining there.
Yeah, I know. And he probably felt like he didn't need to, right? He thought the Capitals were going to have this one in the bag based on how the Bruins were last year. But I like the fact that Kostelic stood up for Lowry there and tried to make Wilson answer for it. And Swayman's the other one that I thought was obviously outstanding for what he did. Like, I think a lot of the saves, he was able to see the puck, and they were coming from the outside. But, that was a great first sign that he's going to have a turnaround year and that he's going to be much better than he was last year. And that, like, let's face it, being at a full training camp, it helped him tremendously, and conversely hurt him last year and kind of submarined the Bruins season when he held out and wasn't there. So a lot of optimistic good signs, I think, for the Bruins tonight. I thought Corrali was good too, actually. He had a few shots on net. I thought he was very good on the penalty kill. He and Isamont were working together. Fraser Minton was good on the penalty kill as well. A lot of the guys, they don't put a lot of the big guns on the penalty kill now. Like Patrice Bergeron and Brad Marchand used to always be a staple on the PK. They were PK partners together. Yeah. They were always out there. And I think what you're seeing now is they want to get away from that and having their top six guys on the PK because it wears them out too much to have them play in all these different situations. And they're using some of their bottom six guys more for penalty kill duty now. And I thought they came up big tonight. Guys like Minton, Corrali, Isamont, Jeannot's a guy that's going to be on that PK as well. I thought a lot of them stepped up and did the gritty job that they needed to do in order to have success on the PK.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, Hags, too, because there were times when I was, trying to keep up. Okay, what's he using for the PK1, the PK2 here? And he was switching it up so much, and I'm texting Brent. I'm like, did that guy get caught, on a shift and he couldn't get off in time? But now that you say it, when I look back at it, he's mixing it up a lot, and that's good because you're not letting the opponent get used to what they have to prepare for, right? You're giving them so many different looks that they don't really know what's coming at them. So it almost becomes a nice little weapon there. I want to ask you too about the bottom six there, and a lot of the guys you mentioned there that they're going to depend on for, as Cam Neely put it the other day, the piss and vinegar. Last year I thought they had a lot of piss and vinegar, but it was reckless. And I thought at times tonight it was a bit, but as the game went on, they were more strategic. They were more aware of when they were using that piss and vinegar. And, I think that's got to be a key, obviously, as you said there, because you don't want to be killing off 5 penalties a game, right?
No, you don't. And, to be honest, a lot of the penalties tonight were tripping penalties. It was more like they were reaching and weren't, moving their feet. And a couple of them were, I thought, bad soft calls, too. There was a few calls.
Even the announcer said it.
Which I think the refs looked like they were in preseason mode still and needed to snap into regular season. But I mean, I as much as they could, I thought they did show some of what Cam Neely was talking about tonight. I didn't think this was that type of game where there was a whole lot of that piss and vinegar going on. But I mean, like I mentioned before, Kostelic stepped up and challenged Tom Wilson when he had to, and that was kind of an area or an element where you could kind of show it a little bit. But other than that, I thought it seemed to me like they were much more focused on playing Marco Sturm system on, we see much more neutral zone trapping type stuff with Marco Sturm and with this Bruins team than we've seen in the past. And it seemed to me like they were much more focused on the defensive part of it, of getting that trap right when the situation's called for it, and keeping the puck to the outside and focusing on the defensive structure. And that's kind of been the mantra for Marco Sturm and this entire coaching staff, is that all those guys have to fold into that and have to buy into it, because this team is going to win a lot of games like they did tonight, 2-1 with an empty net at the end, 3-2, 1-0. It's going to be low scoring 1-goal games a lot of nights, which is going to be high stress and high leverage on a lot of those players. It's a hard way to win in the NHL, but you can also get into the playoffs playing that way. If you have good goaltending and defense, and you have enough offense and a decent power play, you can be a playoff team. They'll have enough offense. And then they can go and get a little bit more offense at the trade deadline. Or maybe Higgins is ready at the end of the year at BC, and he comes in and injects some offense into your lineup. But I think right now, and I've been saying this for a long time, based on what you see, the high effort players, the physical players, the hard nosed players they have in the bottom six, the piss and vinegar boys, as Kim Neely, would call them, the top line that they have, and the goaltending that they have, and the fact that they're going to play good D. This team is going to play meaningful games in March and April. They are going to. And I think they're going to be in shouting distance of the wild card and have a very good chance to get in, even in a competitive Eastern Conference, the Atlantic Division. I've felt this way for a long time now. I was emboldened feeling that way when I watched training camp, because I thought they just got better and better as training camp was going on. And I think Marco Sturm and his coaching staff are doing a really good job. And I think you're seeing it on the ice.
Now let's talk about a guy that Jimmy and I give a lot of static to. We love him as a guy, but he looked good tonight. Nikita Zadorov.
Yeah. Speaking of reckless, he was
exactly
kind and structured.
What are your thoughts on Zadorov, fellas?
Go ahead, Hags.
Yeah, I mean, I what I've seen out of Zadorov this year is more discipline, and I don't mean not taking penalties. I mean staying closer to the net in the D zone, not roaming as much, not being as sort of undisciplined as far as going far away from the net and chasing plays, and sort of leaving the front of the net wide open. And I'm sure part of it is that's what the Bruins brass told him they wanted to see. Part of that is him buying into whatever Marco Sturm is telling him. And, maybe part of it is Zdeno Chara telling Zadorov, listen, this is what you're going to do the job. And I think Chara is one of the few guys that I think Zadorov will probably listen to if he says, listen, son, this is the way you have to do it. And maybe that was an issue, is that there wasn't somebody that Zadorov would listen to if they wanted to sit them down and tell them, this is how you have to play. And you got to be a lot more structured and less undisciplined with the way you play defense, in addition to the taking penalties in 12 straight games to start the year last year, and I've seen a big difference in the way that he's played just in the D zone. And I think it's huge. If he plays closer to the net, just makes it miserable place for players to go, battles around the net and makes it a no-fly zone basically for the Bruins, they're going to be much better off for it than him chasing out plays by the defensive blue line and leaving the front of the net wide open, which he would do at times last year. So I like what I've seen so far, but Zadorov's an interesting guy. He kind of marches to the beat of his own drummer and sort of does his own thing a little bit, and definitely has strong opinions about everything. So making sure that guy stays on board and stays a part of everything that's going on is I think going to be part of the story of this season.
He reminds me, guys, who was talking 2016-17 Patriots, that tight end they had. There was kind of a space shot, but he was really good when he was on his game. Martellus Bennett. Remember him?
Yeah.
Total space cadet. But when he was in his game, man, he was one of the best tight ends in the game. And Zadorov, I think, the common thread I got from talking to coaches that have coached him, or just scouts that saw him a lot out west when he's with Vancouver and Calgary, was exactly like what Joe was saying there. There's just no structure. He's got a ton of potential. When he focuses and he zones in, he's really, really good. He's top 4 potential. But just too many times, and yeah, as Joe said, he kind of marches to his own drum outside the rink, but too many times he was doing it on the ice too. And I think that you're right. Somebody's getting through to him right now, whether it's Z or whoever got
Yep.
through to him. Because what I saw was there was more purpose in his game there. Like, I think he has the ability to be very physical, obviously. He has the ability, of some skill. We've seen him pinch and score some goals. But when he does it without the purpose, and as Joe said, he's just kind of going off to the side or he's not staying, that's when he gets in trouble. So I really think, like, if he can find a way to just kind of stay within himself and buy in, it's really gonna help the Bruins there because they need a guy like that. They need a guy that's gonna be a presence, as Joe said, in front of the net.
Off the wall question, guys. Has anyone ever seen Capitals coach Spencer Carberry and actor Corey Stoll from Ant-Man in the same place?
I have not, but good call.
You know,
Good call.
my
Good
daughter
call.
even walked into the room tonight. My 15-year-old daughter, Aubrey, what's up, Obs? And she's like, that guy looks like the villain from Ant-Man, and just walked out of the room.
Good stuff. Joe, listen, I got one more for you before we go here.
Yep.
We're talking a lot about Swayman. What about the other goalie this year? What have you seen from Yunus Korpisalo in camp? Do you have the belief that he can? I saw some good things from him last year, but not enough. Can he
Yeah.
be more consistent this year, in your opinion?
Yeah, I thought he was good in the first half of last year, and then I thought he got sucked
Me
down
too.
into the mire with everybody else in the second half of the
Exactly.
year. And I think he was also frustrated because he wanted to play more in the first half when he kind of
Mhm.
earned more playing time, and the Bruins just fed Swayman games even when he wasn't playing well. So I think all that factored into, like, not a great second half for Corpusalo, but like everything I saw in
He
camp
did
was
have a good. Yeah.
he looks certainly like he's going to be a solid backup and be a veteran guy that's going to push Swayman. And frankly, Swayman needs that. I think he needs to have a lot of people talked about like trading Corpusalo because of obviously the cap hit, but like I don't think it's a good idea to have a guy like DiPietro as the backup to a guy like Jeremy Swayman. You cannot have a young guy that is not unproven and would like not push him as the backup to Swayman. I think Swayman needs somebody that at times he can lean on a little bit as a veteran guy that's been through it. I mean, Corpusalo's played over 300 games in the NHL, but also a guy that can step up and maybe take some playing time away from Swayman if he goes through a little stretch where he's not playing well. Like, let's
Yeah.
face it, in the past, before Corpusalo got here, Swayman's other two goalie tandem partners were Vezina Trophy winners. Like, he
Yeah.
has always had a very strong partner next to him anytime he's played with the Bruins. So, like, I think you need to continue to keep that. I think Corpusalo is perfect in that role. I'm sure he would like to play more, but he's had a save percentage under 900 in each of the last two seasons. So I don't think anybody's going to be banging down his door to be a number one guy on their team right now based on the way that he's performed. But I think in that role as a backup, I think especially if the Bruins are playing with the kind of defensive structure that they played with in front of Swayman tonight, keeping everything to the outside. There weren't 2-on-1s. There weren't any breakaways. There weren't any like real chances like we saw a lot last year that those goalies faced when the Bruins defense was just porous as hell. As long as that remains true, I think Corpusalo is going to do totally fine.
I'm with you on
Goes
that.
tomorrow night, guys. Is Corpusalo in there tomorrow night?
Maybe.
Home opener? I don't know. I think they give it Buffalo. I think Swayman gets a home opener.
Yeah, maybe. I'd consider it though. A second night of a back-to-back, I'd think about it. Sturm is a guy that is not afraid to like make a bold decision. I don't think he's afraid to do that at all. And I think as he gets some confidence in what he's doing here and as he sees results coming, I think you're going to see more and more of that. I have loved Marco Sturm, like the opinions he has, the takes he has, the fact that he will tell us exactly what he thinks about players, good and bad. And I think the players are starting to like, I think, my opinion, the kid gloves that Jim Montgomery treated the players with when he was here, where never a discouraging word was said about them because they were too afraid of Bruce Cassidy before, who was very critical. I think that turned a lot of the players soft in that locker room as far as criticism goes, as far as dealing with like, any kind of negativity whatsoever, any kind of adversity on or off the ice. And I think Sturm is bringing back some accountability and bringing back like just saying what everybody sees is happening on the ice, even if it's not a bouquet of flowers for a player, and it's going to be a little bit of truth that might be hard to hear. I think everybody respects that, and I think fans are too smart in Boston, hockey fans, to hear like the rah-rah college bullcrap, like like everything is
Yeah.
great,
Yeah.
everybody's awesome, like the stuff that we heard from Montgomery. Sturm is a totally different guy, and I think that is going to bring out toughness in this team, and I think it's been really refreshing to hear. And I think it's allowing him to be his own guy and make these bold decisions. So like, I'm not going to be surprised if he makes some, like, whether it's starting Korpisalo the second night of the back-to-back at home or doing certain things. I don't think Sturm's going to be afraid to do it, because I think he is not afraid to make those kind of decisions, good or bad, and live with them.
Yeah.
All right, so elaborate on that before we let you go. That was a great answer. Do you feel like Marco Sturm has the juice to stand up to Cam Neely and Don Sweeney?
I mean, I think they've given him the juice to do that. I think Don Sweeney has mentioned that before, that like when they brought Sturm in here, I don't think he was going to take the job unless he had, like the captain thing. He's like Marco Sturm, like the day he was named captain, went on Felger and Maz and was basically like, there's not going to be a captain here until I get to know them as players. And I don't know if he really ran that by Cam Neely and the friggin' Bruins management committee before he went out and said that. But like, that's like, he's like, if I'm coming here to be the head coach, I'm going to do it my way, and we're going to do things that I think are right, and I'm going to have strong opinions on all this stuff, and that's how we're going to do it. And I really think if you listen to Don Sweeney and the way he talks about it, I think there are times where like they're going to do what Marco Sturm wants because he's the coach and he's going to have the say on those kind of things. Does that mean he's always going to like have the say on who gets called up and goes to the Bruins if it's a Providence call up and things like that? No, I don't think so. I think he'll have a voice, but I don't think he's going to have the final say on that. But I honestly don't think it comes down to like standing up to Cam Neely and Don Sweeney. I think all of those guys are on the same page. And I think it's a very collaborative thing that's going on with that Bruins team and their management right now. And I think all voices are heard, and then they make a decision. They were the guys that hired Sturm in the first place. Of course, they're going to empower him to do what he needs to do to be the coach.
Sorry to keep you for one more longer, but it falls in with what we're talking about here. I thought Cam Neely and Don Sweeney's press conference, was it Monday, the beginning of the season press conference, and then what you saw Sturm say yesterday, Hags, I think it was yesterday after practice, when he said, the playoffs aren't what I'm worried about right now. I just want to get better every game.
Yeah.
Hags, you go back, go read the script from the end of the season press conference when Cam Neely literally said, we aren't just planning to be a playoff team and just make it in. We want to go make noise in the playoffs.
Right.
So what in your eyes caused the 180? Because you're right, there's a collective 180 there on the way they're presenting this team now.
No, I see. I think what's happening there, Murph, is Sturm is going to focus on every day. You know what I mean? Like he's not going to get sucked into the big picture questions, and I think
Which
that's
is great.
What's
I want that.
I think he's more about the here and now of getting better at practice every day, focusing on the next game. Like sort of, he's going to be in that, like next step mentality. Like Cam and Donnie can answer those kind of questions.
What happened with Cam and Donnie to make them sort of switch and pull a 180 there? Because it seems like they kind of stepped back and said, wait a minute, we're putting the ceiling way too low here. Like we're setting the bar way too high, rather. Like it just seems like something clicked to them and said, hey, we are who we are, and we have to come in here and paint a real picture before this season starts. So 2 months from now, we don't look like idiots who said, yeah, this is a great playoff team. I really, and I admired, I love that they came and said this, because you said something key a few minutes back when you said the fan base here in Boston is a smart fan base, and they know when you're feeding them a load of BS. And I think that was a lot of the reaction to those comments after the season ended April. I think a lot of people are like, what are they looking at that makes them think they're going to go deep into the playoffs right now? Yeah, maybe they'll go out and sign somebody huge in the offseason. That didn't happen.
Yeah, I didn't get that. I didn't get the deep into the playoff thing from anything that I heard them saying towards the end. I really didn't. Maybe they said something about the playoffs at some point, but
I'll
I was
send
at
it to
all
you.
those press conferences. I was at all those press conferences, and I didn't get the sense listening to them that they thought that this team this year was going to go on this deep playoff run and win the cup. What I heard was they gave the same basic answer that there's high expectations with the Bruins. Every year we're trying to win the cup every year. You know what I mean? It was more of that like type answer.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a mandate like we have to win the cup next year and we know that we're going to be. It was more like that's the expectation with the Bruins every year is that you get into the playoffs and you win the cup. That's kind of what everybody
Now
expects.
the expectation is now they're looking at it saying we're shooting for the playoffs. Period. That's it. There's no, we're looking to go deep. If we make the playoffs, that's great. But it seems like they also understand that they are in a retool, whatever the hell you want to call it. They're in it.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
like that. Like, I love when a team's honest like that because it bugs me when they feed the fans a load of crap, to be honest. And I like that.
Yeah. No, I think so. And I think, I think they've been fairly like I think they've actually done a pretty good job of managing expectations as far as that goes. What's interesting to me is how negative the fans have been for a while now, coming off last year.
Yeah.
Thinking that this team's going to be terrible. They can't score. They've got fourth liners all over the place. Like, blah blah blah. The negativity has been like over the top, like ridiculous from the fans as far as like expectations for this team. Where like I actually watch them every day. I see the players that they brought in. I talk to people that are talent evaluators that know who's good and who's not, and what they're building. Like everything that I've seen, everybody that I've talked to is like this Bruins team is definitely better than people think they're going to be. As long as like. And, everybody says, well, it's based on Lindholm and McAvoy being healthy, whatever. Yeah, that's true. There's no reason to think they're not going to be healthy. But if you take the top two defensemen out of any team in the NHL, or almost any team, like I'd say 20 out of the 32 teams, they're going to suck. You know what I mean? Like it's
Well,
you
maybe
can
the
say that for the
Panthers.
Bruins.
Yeah.
But
here's the thing.
That goes for 2/3 of the league. That if you take their top two defensemen away, they're going to be terrible, and all of a sudden they're going to be lottery bound. Like
this is a good year to be lottery bound, though, man. Like,
yeah, but they're not going to do that. Like that's the point, though.
No,
When they're talking about the
Hags, come on.
expectations when they're talking about the expectations with the Bruins and winning the cup and going to the playoffs, that's I think what they're talking about is not going to be tanking for like years in a row. That's not going to happen. Like Gavin McKenna can go like score 1 million goals in Penn State and do whatever he wants to do. The Bruins are not getting like a lottery pick this year. You can put that in the books. Mark that down that I said it today.
Okay, I'm going to bet you on that.
It's not
They're in the
happening.
lottery. I'm going to say they're in
the lottery. They're too good. The only ways to suck in the NHL is to have horrible defense or bad goaltending. Okay, They had both last year because their top two defensemen were hurt and Jeremy Swayman wasn't right all year after holding out in training camp. They are too good defensively and their goaltending is too good for them to suck this year. It's not going to happen.
Right.
And they're going to have just enough offense to stick.
Brennan, clip this right now.
It's true. It's true.
I'm so happy that you came on.
If you know hockey, the teams that are awful in the NHL are always the teams with horrible goaltending and bad defense. Like if you have good defense and you have good goaltending, even if you have like just barely enough offense, you're going to be close to the playoffs and you're going to be middle of the pack at the very least. Like that is obvious. Like when you watch hockey, like that's why I get aggravated when fans are like, they're going to be terrible. It's like, if you know anything about hockey, they're not going to be terrible. They're going to be at least middle of the pack to the wild card. Like that's what they're going to be.
Yeah.
Damn it, Jimmy, I quit the pod. Hags just ruined the season for me. It's still no tank for McKenna. I'm out.
No,
I can't do it.
not.
I retired.
You know what?
Two episodes.
But it's not a bad year. If everything falls apart, it's not a bad year for that to happen. I'll put it that way.
All right. Well, the joys of live media. We heard the Haggerty dog in the background. Obviously, wants to go outside. Hags, we appreciate you joining us, buddy. Hope to see you again. As the season goes on, we really appreciate it. Tell the fans where everyone can read you.
Yeah, Boston Sports Journal. Go to bostonsportsjournal.com. Get a subscription. I do a weekly Q&A with the subscribers there. We got a lot of great stuff on all pro sports teams, Greg Bedard, Mike Giardi, myself, a bunch of other really talented people. So check that out. I have a Substack, joehaggerty.substack.com. You can always go to my Twitter account, Hacks with Hags, to check that out as well. I'm always all over the place. I also have my own podcast too. So check that out on CLNS.
What's the podcast called? Pucks with Hags?
Pucks with Hags. Yep. You
All
got
right.
it.
Good stuff. All right, Hags. Thanks a lot, man.
Sir.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Get some sleep. Enjoy your evening. Right. Thanks, Hags.
You too.
Joe Haggerty join us here. Look, I agree with him. They're mid, but
damn it.
I also think this is one game. Don't get carried away.
You can't. Right. We're not.
But I won't lie. I'm watching that game, Brendan, and you know who kept going through my mind was the 2017 Ottawa Senators, who beat the Bruins in 6 games in the opening round, went on to lose to the Penguins in Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Final.
Yeah.
They've got that vibe where I don't know how to describe. They're going to be like they're going to be what they're trying to be. It's a pain in the ass team. And by the way, I'm going to send Hags Neely's quotes because
for sure. Oh yeah, no, we've broken that presser down.
He said it.
Right. Yeah, we've gone through that thing like there's a Brooder tapes. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like that thing. Yeah. So,
but I don't know. I mean, it depends what you want as a fan. I mean, like I have no problem sometimes where teams, like I hate to say it, I hate that Bruins fans are going to get mad right now for me saying this, but I think the Bruins should be looking at their longtime arch rivals, the Montreal Canadiens, and model themselves after that. Well, I mean, how can you sit there, Brendan, put your Bruins allegiance aside and tell me that they haven't done almost a perfect rebuild to this point right now?
Perfect. Yes, I bust your chops about it, but because we are a Boston centric, and you're supposed to hate the Canadians. But
I never said
you're 100% right.
I give credit where it's due. That's all.
You have to. Exactly.
And I like to see teams in this day and age when there is so much pressure from ownership, there is so much pressure from management, or there is so much pressure from fan bases, there is so much pressure on social media and all that. I love when a team can just look in the mirror. And that's what I was trying to get at with Hags. It's like, I like this 180 that they're pulling right now. I like that they're almost saying, hey, if we make the playoffs, that's frosting on the cake. Now, if you make the playoffs and you win a round, you look amazing. But if you don't make the playoffs, who cares? You weren't supposed to. So it's like, I think more teams, and I'm not just singling out the Bruins here. I'm talking sports in general. More teams need to be real. And as Hags said there, I think there's a key thing there. I think a lot of pro teams underestimate the knowledge of their fan bases. They just look at it as like, all right, they're loyal fan bases. They're a cult. They're going to buy the tickets no matter what. And we can just say whatever the hell we want to them. Well, no, they're not. Like, fans are smart these days, man. Like, and I'm not trying to put down fans in the past, but fans have so much more access to stats, to analytics, to video, to anything, to insight from coaches, to video of teams in the locker room, just everything. There's so much at their fingertips that you can't BS the fan base. And so that's why I think it's good when you have a coach like Marco Sturm the other day saying, I'm not worried about the playoffs. I just want us to get better every day. I thought it was the best thing a coach could ever say.
Yeah, you said it, that you hope that when this does finally turn around, that Marco Sturm's around
to
do this. Because that, like you said, he's already changing the culture. I mean, he's more in the middle, clearly, as Hags pointed out, between Cassidy and Monty. And, like I said, I think he won't be afraid if Zadorov does something ridiculous to like sit him down in the third period of a game.
No. And listen, I think in terms of Monty, and I didn't know you as well then, but I remember just saying it. I said it to Pierre Maguire too. I think Monty was so set up to fail, because he came in, they have that record-breaking season, right? And then that should have been, then, Bergeron and Krejci retire. That should have been it right there. That's when we're talking about looking in the mirror and seeing where you're going and what you really are.
Yeah.
And instead, they just kept trying to stretch it out a little more. And credit to them, and thanks to the aforementioned Jeremy Swayman, who was brilliant against the Maple Leafs in the first round, 2024, and got them to Game 6 against the eventual Stanley Cup champions and then back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. Like, it was almost like fool's gold. And they were not as that. the Bruins were not on the path that the 2023-24 team indicated they were. You know what I mean? Like, I think
Everything fell into place. They had guys like Taylor Hall playing on their third line. I mean, they had a stacked roster.
right.
And going back to Monty, and we've talked about this before in all
Like, how is Monty
venues.
going to be hard on the players after what happened with Cassidy? There was no
Right,
way he
right.
could come in and be a tough guy because he'd be out the door too.
But the unfortunate thing for Monty, and he kind of got a free pass on this. He pooped himself with the goaltending in that first round series, and he couldn't make a decision.
You're talking in 2023.
Yes, after the
Without
record breaking season where he kept Allmark in too long. Whereas if he might have went, who knows, if he might have gone to Swayman 2 games earlier.
But none of us ever know if he truly had the green light to do that.
Fair point. That's a
Okay.
fair point.
See, what I'm trying to say, and I want to get to the bottom of it before this season's over. For the fans and for us, I'm going to get to the bottom. Something happened between June and now because, as Hag said, Sturm is much more empowered than Monty was. I don't think Monty ever felt the empowerment from Sweeney and Neely to come down hard on the team, to make a decisive, a big time decision like that with a goalie in the middle of a playoff series. What we were presented, I remember being in those press conferences after, was that it was a collective, by committee type decision. It was between management, it was between the coaching staff, and it was between goalie Bob Essenza. And then there was that time, remember, which I didn't think was a good look. Monty kind of threw Essenza under the bus. Remember? So it's like we never really found out who was calling the shots at all there. And I feel like something happened this summer where Sweeney and Neely said, you know what? If we're going to do this right, we're going to let Marco come in here and do his thing. And if it doesn't work after 2 years, then see you later. Or we start to interfere a bit, or we start to have a little more say. But there seems to be way more rope for Marco Sturm than there was for Jim Montgomery. I don't know what made it that way. Maybe it was because Montgomery was asking for, what he's worth on the open market as a coach, and he wasn't getting it, and he was making a big fuss about his contract. So maybe there was bad blood there. I don't know. This is just me speculating. But there seems to be, right off the get-go, since training camp started, a ton of more rope given to Marco Sturm than there ever was to Jim Montgomery.
Well, for the loyal listeners of the Bruins Vibes podcast, before we join the Awesome Sick Podcast Network,
there you go.
You've already answered this question, Jimmy.
Yeah,
this happened during the interview process. Remember, we joked that they had basically, it was a parade of candidates that came in, and then Marco Sturm they were interested in him off the hop, based on his success in the minors and with
they had to go through the process.
The German national team, right? But
they had to go.
These other guys were coming in saying, like, "Bro, your roster is not that good."
Yeah,
you said it. You've said it yourself, so you already answered this, my friend. Give yourself some credit, buddy.
That's a good point. I did. You're right. I did say that, and I knew that. And maybe Marco came. I wasn't in those interviews, but by all accounts, Marco came in with a very realistic approach, and I think somehow and credit to him. And Sweeney said something the other day too, on this note, where he was like, the more I spoke to him, right? They do like 2 to 3 interviews. He said each interview, he seemed to believe in himself more and more. Like every time he came back for an interview with them to get the coaching job, he had more confidence in himself, right? And it was almost like, hey, this is who I am and this is what I'm going to do. And if you don't like it, then don't hire me, and I think Sweeney respected that a lot. And I got to say too, Chris Noshik, who's a great Bruins fan, does his own podcast as well. Check him out there. He's in the chat room here, and he's making a good point. I think he's right. He says, if we can pull it up there, Jimmy, I don't know if you see it, where he says Monty was never Sweeney's guy. Sweeney never wanted to let Cassidy go. Monty knew, and he acted like it. I think Chris is nailing it right there.
Love it.
I don't know if Jimmy, can you pull that comment out from the comment section? I don't know if you can grab it. Jimmy is our producer.
Was never Sweeney's guy. There we go.
Yeah. So there you go. That's a great point by Chris Noshik.
Yeah, it looks like some breaking news too that Jack Roslovich has signed with the Oilers. Can you confirm that, Murph?
Is that all over Twitter right now?
It's in our chat. we're it's getting close to 11:15 here in the East Coast. Bruins 3-1 over the Capitals.
Yep.
Let's go on, over some key points in this game.
That-
How about the apple of the game? How about that assist by Pasta on the Elias Lindholm goal?
Wow.
Filthy.
He's so fun to watch.
And
Seriously, I
we've
say
talked
it here
about
all the time, but for our new listeners here, and Brendan and I agree on this, David Pastrnak is one of the most underappreciated pro athletes to ever play in Boston. He should be front and center with the best of them right now. He should be ahead of Drake May. He should be right below the dynamic duo of the Celtics right now.
Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. Yep.
Yeah, he should be right below them. He should be second best in terms of popularity and appreciation, if
He
not
should
the
be
best.
on every billboard in town from
It's ridiculous.
downtown to the Cape.
I'm just telling you, Bruins fans, no matter what happens this season, because if they do suck, if they don't make the playoffs and they really tank, and then they miss out on McKenna, and it's just a horrible season for no reason, there's going to come a time, I think, let's be honest. Pasternak's in his prime right now. He's got probably, let's say, 3 to 4 years of his prime left. You got to think if they're sucking third year, he's going to want out. And so, all I'm saying is you never know when these players leave. I think nobody knew that Brad Marchand would leave, and he did. We've seen so many times. I mean, I'm showing my age here. I'm going to be 51 in less than a month. Jesus Christ. And, I remember when Roger Clemens left.
49 a couple weeks. Hey, let's not go there. Dark moment in my life, all right?
That's what killed Brendan's Red Sox fandom. But all I'm saying is it can happen. Anyone can leave. Gretzky was traded. Anything can happen. Treasure David Pastrnak while you have him right in front of you. Just appreciate him. He is so.
Yeah, I am forming a brute squad. Princess Bride, great movie. You are the brute squad. For those that bash Pastrnak on this podcast and in these chat rooms, and the brute squad will be coming to see you because I'm not going to stand for it. What about the smash of the game, a crunch of the game? What about the hit Tanner Jeannot laid on Matt Roy in the first period? That was something to see.
No, I liked it. And I that's what I was trying to get at with Joe, is that I did see that piss and vinegar that's advertised. My question, I don't feel as much as Joe did that they controlled it. They did get 5 penalties.
Yes, agreed.
You can't, I'm sorry. That was great. They went 5 for 5 on the PK. You're not going to go 5 for 5 if you get 5 penalties a game or every other game or every 3 games. It's not going to happen.
100%.
I
did let you know on the PK. That was a wrinkle that I didn't see coming.
A lot of stuff there. There was a lot of great things I saw, but it's one game. But hey, you know what, Brendan? We got a little time left. I want to go over. I don't know if there's any questions over there. Anyone wants to ask anything? Jimmy, I don't know if we got any questions. I just see a lot of reaction there. But you can pull up some comments if you want, because one of the key things, Brendan, is we want to do here is interact with our fans. There we go. Ethan Russell. He's a big guy on eye test. Asked some great questions there. You want to read his question? That's your job now, Brendan.
Yeah, Ethan Russell says, do you think Zacha should go to 2C and put Middlestad on the wing? It's interchangeable, right? I mean,
I think
you kind of have the skill, it's who takes the draws. Obviously, Zacha way better defensively. But, you kind of stuck with that. I mean, it shows you so, all of us that watch so much hockey, I mean, you and Hags, go to practices and all that. I didn't think Middlestad was that bad tonight. I thought he almost scored in the first.
No, I thought he sucked.
Fair enough.
I think he did a lot of the stuff, like Hags said, too. Like a lot of this critique I've heard from places he's been, just talking to media in each city that he's been, because they're racking up now, by the way. He just gets pushed off the puck. And somebody said it there in the chat room. I forget who it was, but he just gets pushed off the puck too much, man. He's not strong enough on the puck. I don't know if it's confidence or fear. I have no idea, but he's not strong enough on the puck. So we'll see.
What happened to that guy since he left Buffalo?
I don't know. Unfortunately for him, it didn't go the way everybody else goes when they leave Buffalo.
True. Yeah.
He was like, wait a minute. I thought if I could move to Buffalo.
Yeah. No doubt.
All right. What else we got? Anything else? And Roslovic is going to Edmonton, by the way. All right, Chris Noshik. By the way, Stan Bowman, the busiest GM in a 1 week span I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, what is that? Does that guy sleep? Good God.
Yeah, Jesus. Well, Connor,
With the
he said,
back-to-back,
don't
do you
worry,
see
Connor, I'm going to do what I
Beecherville?
can. Go ahead,
Yeah, no
read
doubt.
it. Yep.
Chris says, with the back-to-back, do you want to see Beecherville and Corpusalo draw in the lineup? We talked about it with Hags. I definitely want to see Corpusalo tomorrow. I don't think Swayman, no matter what this team does this year, I don't want to see Swayman play north of 55 games. Like, he hit the wall last year, and if you're going to pay Corpusalo all that money, you got to have you said it to me a couple of weeks ago when camp started. You got to have a 1A and a 1B now in this modern NHL.
Okay, so you can have that, but you could still start Swayman tomorrow. And here's the reason I start Swayman tomorrow. After everything that happened, after all the question marks, everything he went through, the offseason he had, and then he comes in his first game and literally makes a statement like that and says, yo, I'm back.
Okay.
You gotta just give him tomorrow. It's the home opener. It's gonna pump up the crowd when he comes out there. Whereas he was being booed off the ice when last year ended. He was in everybody's doghouse because of the contract dispute and everything. I think in terms of confidence, not just for him, but for the team, and starting tomorrow night off on a positive note, you get Jeremy Swayman out there. Then you give Corpusalo the start on Saturday against Buffalo, and then you go back to Swayman against Tampa Bay for the matinee on Monday. That's how I do it.
I like
Because you're giving Swayman Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 3 full days off. So there you go. There's your good split. And then if you go after that, if he wants to go every other, I'm fine with that. But I just think there's something about having your starter be out there for the home opener that just sends a good message like, hey, he earned it last night. Let him go out there and get that ovation. That's what I'd do.
You heard it first there, Jimmy Murphy.
Another one here from Chris.
Chris is all over it tonight. Jimmy, people want to trade Pasta because he turns the puck over. They have no idea what they have in him. 100%.
Totally. And Chris, I'm with you, and I know you're in agreement with us. And I would say to those people, go back and look how many turnovers Wayne Gretzky made. When you have the puck that much, you're bound to turn it over. It's kind of common sense. All right, what's the next one? Of course, Michael Felder will never figure that out. He can, as Sean Thornton said, Michael Felder can suck it.
That's right. Chris, again, we're going to have to send Chris a royalty check.
We only got 5 viewers right now. First show, it is what it is. But thanks, Chris. We appreciate it.
Yep. Aren't the Avs built on the sentiment that McKinnon and Makar are healthy too? Well, yeah, but Nathan McKinnon is so much better than every other Bruin on the roster except Pasta.
Exactly. And I get where Chris is going there, but I think Chris, who seems very much like a great hockey guy, knows his stuff. I think Chris would agree that the Colorado Avalanche are much deeper than the Boston Bruins.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to, that's just.
Yeah, we don't have to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. All right, next question. Chris again. Chris is going.
Let's go to Chris.
Record.
Yeah.
Chris is coming in hard, and he's coming in hot in the first show here. If 24, go ahead, you can read it.
If 2024 team wins the cup, they blow it up after that, starts a rebuild. I mean, that's the ultimate pie in the sky fantasy land result, right? I mean,
Yeah. Do you mean no? I don't think he means 24, 25. He means 22, 23. Oh. Last year, yeah, he must have, and I think he corrected himself.
Okay, yeah. He's that again. Chris is nailing 100% right. If you're right.
There you go. Yeah.
Yes, I was like, what the hell? But yeah, he's absolutely right. If they win that, if they finish, if you go into the DeLorean, you go back in time, you get Monty to put Swayman in after Allmark tried to fight Kachuk in that game, they win that series and win the cup.
Yeah.
Who the hell knows, right?
Brad Marchand doesn't miss a breakaway in Game 5 at the buzzer.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
All right, so that's all we got for questions there.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Chris. Ethan,
thanks everybody out there. Yep, appreciate it. Thanks to Jimmy.
Tell your friends, Bruins Vibes. We want to hear from the fans.
Yeah, definitely here.
Give you some. We're gonna have experts coming in every show, like we did with Hags. Top of Jimmy's knowledge. You can have my snark. we're gonna have some fun this year.
Yeah.
Most weeknight games for sure. Sure, we'll pop on the occasional weekend, even social media. Maybe we'll do Twitter live or something. But yeah, hey, if you are you cheer for the laundry that is the black and gold. Oh, by the way, speaking of the laundry, epic that they're back to the Happy Gilmore Bruins jerseys. That
Or the Bruins jerseys are of our childhood, Brendan. I mean,
ugh,
I love
the
it.
best.
That reminds me,
Best.
and it's it's a good segue. I grew up going to a lot of games at the old Boston Garden. My grandfather had season tickets in Loge 7. For those of you who went to the old Boston Garden, so if you remember, in the corners, like diagonally, one corner had the little small rectangle scoreboards, right, across from
Yep.
each other, and the other corners had the Pepsi signs. And I was on one, like 5 rows up from one of those rectangle scoreboards. And anyhow, so when I started going to games when I was about 4.5, 5 years old. My grandfather, but as I got older, my grandfather would give us the tickets. He would give me the tickets to take a friend on Saturday afternoons. And one of those friends that I brought grew up going to a lot of Bruins games with in the old Garden. It's my neighbor. He's like a brother to me, Jeff Pilvogen. And I know some of his family and friends are watching right now. I found out right before we came on the air. Thanks, Brendan, for getting me through this. That Jeff passed away from brain cancer about 3 hours ago. So
That's awful, bro.
this one's for Jeff. I'll see you on the other side, brother. Love you.
God bless you, Jimmy. Obviously, thoughts and prayers to Jeff's family, to you, my friend. You played hurt tonight, and I'm sure no one realized that you were on your game as always. So we appreciate that. Um, before we get out of here, I mean, again, the Bruins might, after winning this game tonight, the Capitals that were a playoff team last year, Bruins fans might wake up Sunday morning and this team might be 3-0. You're playing the Blackhawks, not a very good team. I know obviously they, made some moves, signed some of their younger guys. And
Be
then
wary of Spencer Knight, though. He was
correct.
really good in
Yes.
that first game.
Yes, exactly. He was great the other night in their loss to Florida. And then, Buffalo's Buffalo. And, again, you talk about a team that, Hags made the point. Decor and goaltending. There's a team that, even though they have some names, they can't figure out their damn decor and their goaltending. So it's we could be looking at the Bruins could wake up Sunday morning with 6 points and a 3-0 record. So, hey. Thoughts, Jimmy. All right, so yeah, we're gonna be back tomorrow night after the Blackhawk game. Give us a quick
Not on
rundown.
Saturday, by the way. We won't be doing Saturdays. We'll be on every weekday game. So you'll catch us here. Remember, Monday we'll be here, but remember it's a matinee. 1 p.m. 1 p.m. start. So
Shout out, so Saturday, shout out to my good friends, the Phillips, young Blake Phillips, who I converted to a Bruins fan, a Detroit kid who actually he turned his back on the Red Wings to cheer for the Bruins because of our influence, Jimmy.
nice.
Their family has an annual chili cook-off, and it's Saturday night, so it is a good time. The chili, different varieties of chili, like 8 flavors of chili, booze down by the water. They got a little pond in their
Awesome.
backyard. It's a good time.
They give out free Imodium too, or
I think that's the next day on the way out. But hey, the chili's good. It's
nice.
been a number of years. I've never really had an upset stomach. I
I'd
mean, I have
love
a
to.
cast iron stomach, but
Yeah.
hey, anyway.
I wish I had the same.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mr. Celiac. Yeah. Anyway, all right. Give us a quick thoughts on the Hawks. I mean,
Well, I actually
Bernard,
don't think this is gonna. I don't. You say that you said twice there. I don't know if they wake up 3-0 on Sunday. I actually don't like this game tomorrow. Coming in off a win, Hawks are resting peacefully in their hotel rooms right now, unless they decide
they are already in Boston. Yes,
they're already in Boston. So back to back. It's going to be a tougher game than maybe people think. I watched that game closely. The Hawks definitely. One thing I'll say that the Bruins need, and I'm sure Marco Sturm will see this in the video, they need to jump all over. Their first outlet passes coming out of their own zone are horrendous. There was a period when they were trying to get Spencer Knight pulled. They down 1 goal in the final minutes. And even Spencer Knight, the camera went in on him close and his eyes were like, what the? Like, he just kept trying to get out. He's like, get it out, get it out. They couldn't get him out of the net and they wasted a ton of time. So that's something the Bruins need to pounce on there. Not just in the end of the game, but I mean, throughout the game, just they could beat them good on the transition if they have it going. So, but I think it'll be a tougher game than people think. And then Buffalo Saturday, Tampa Monday. So we'll see. But it's back. Credit where it's due. It's 1 game, but great job by the Bruins. Congratulations to Marco Sturm on his first ever win as an NHL head coach.
So that's going to wrap it up here for our the Bruins Vibes podcast here on the Sick Podcast Network. Game 1 down, 81 to go. We will not be doing 81 podcasts. But 3-1 Bruins. We want to thank everyone for being here. Chris, thanks for your great insight. Appreciate it. Get your friends and family to tune in. I think we got a pretty good show here for you. For some straight talk about those Boston Bruins. You know, we're not bought and paid for on this this podcast. We are going to give it to you straight all season what we think about the Bruins. So appreciate you being here, Jimmy. Prayers up for you, my friend. We want to thank our producer back in Montreal, and another Jimmy. I'm not going to forget anybody's name. And we appreciate y'all being here. This is the Bruins Vibes podcast on the Sick Podcast Network. I'm Brendan. He's Jimmy. Good night, everybody. Bruins are 1-0. Have a good one.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Bruins Vibes on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.